It's a whole hell of a lot better than turtlenecks.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that. Imagine if we had stayed in the turtlenecks.
The first night was a fashion faux pas.
What's going on, everyone? For WrestleTrivia, I'm your host, Kevin J. Callis.
Yeah! I love you, Solo!
And you're watching Wrestling Jeopardy, the ultimate interactive game show where you're the contestant.
Are you ready?
So let's go to the board now and check out the categories we'll be quizzed on in this special Survivor Series episode. Starting with debuts, followed by Survivor Series surprises. Up next, Survivor Series main events. Our fourth category is Sole Survivors, where you'll have to correctly identify the superstar who was the sole survivor for their team. And last but certainly not least, still a new feature here on Wrestling Jeopardy, our member category of the week, CM Punk's WWE return at the 2023 Survivor Series. And that bell means it's clobbering time. We begin our game with the 200-point Jobber round, the easiest round in Wrestling Jeopardy. Will you answer all 5 of these questions correctly, or will you totally embarrass yourself?
No way!
All right, here we go with the first clue of the Jobber round. This trio of young superstars debuted at the 2012 Survivor Series and delivered what would become their signature triple powerbomb on Ryback. Now, back in 2012, The Shield were relative unknowns. However, the immediate impact they made in WWE changed the career paths of Roman Reigns, Seth freaking Rollins, and Dean Ambrose forever. All right, let's move on to the second clue of the Jobber round from surprises. A surprising upset in the battle for brand supremacy occurred at the 2019 Survivor Series when this black and gold brand bested both Raw and SmackDown. They were the better brand that night. They were NXT. And that brings us to the third clue of the Jobber round from Survivor Series main events. The fate of multiple companies was on the line in the main event of the 2001 Survivor Series as the best superstars WWE had to offer joined forces against the alliance of these two rival companies. Now, it wasn't the WWE versus WCW and ECW bout that fans dreamed about, but the symbolism was there to still make this all feel special.
One of the best Survivor Series of the century.
Moving on to the fourth clue of the Jobber round from Sole Survivors. Who was the sole survivor for this group of warriors? Hawk, Animal, the Ultimate Warrior, or the Texas Tornado? The Ultimate Warrior was the first superstar to pull off the impressive feat of becoming a sole survivor on 3 consecutive occasions from 1988 to 1990. And let's close out the Jobber round with this clue. CM Punk's return to WWE at the end of the 2023 Survivor Series was made all the more special since the event took place in this Windy City. Chicago is not only a wrestling hotbed, but it's also CM Punk's hometown.
Chicago!
All right, hopefully you survived the Jobber round.
Wait a minute! Good God Almighty! For God's sakes!
Things get a little bit more difficult here in the 400-point round. Let's kick things off with the first clue from Survivor Series debuts. This iconic WCW superstar made his long overdue WWE debut at the 2014 Survivor Series. Like seeing CM Punk return to the WWE after 10 years, it was so surreal to see the man called Sting finally join the WWE roster when he showed up at this Survivor Series and help the show-off defeat the Authority.
No.
But let's not talk about anything that happened after this amazing debut, okay?
That would be ridiculous at this point.
And that brings us to the second clue of the 400-point round from Surprises. Scott Steiner made his surprise return to WWE at the 2002 Survivor Series, which was held that year inside the hallowed halls of this world-famous arena. If you ever get a chance to catch a wrestling event or a basketball game or a concert, you must go to Madison Square Garden. And we're on to the 400-point clue from Survivor Series main events. After Stone Cold Steve Austin was run over at the 1999 Survivor Series, this wrestler was inserted into the main event triple threat match against The Rock and Triple H. Well, he walked out of the Survivor Series as the WWF champion. Who is the Big Show? All right, let's move on to some more Soul Survivors for 400. Who is the Soul Survivor from this team of Ravishing Rick Rude, King Kong Bundy, Andre the Giant, the One Man Gang, and the Natural Butch Reed? In 1987, at the inaugural Survivor Series, Andre the Giant pinned the Beast from the East, Bam Bam Bigelow, to become the first Soul Survivor in WWE history. And let's finish up the 400-point round with this clue. This superstar was in no mood to sing his theme song as he reacted furiously to Punk's return. Having to be physically restrained by Corey Graves and Michael Cole, Seth freaking Rollins was freaking pissed off at the sight of the Second City Saint. All right, 10 questions down, 15 to go, plus the Daily Double and Final Jeopardy. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're having a good time. Appreciate all of you who have subscribed. We recently hit 10,000 subscribers. It's amazing, I can't believe it. Thank you so much, really appreciate it. And let's kick off the 600-point round with this clue. Which two wrestlers did Rocky Maivia pin during his electrifying debut at the 1996 Survivor Series? Your choices are Crush, Jerry the King Lawler, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and Goldust. And the two wrestlers were Crush and Goldust. And that brings us to the 600-point clue from Surprises. Speaking of surprises, this clue will actually be worth more than 600 points because this is the 1,000th clue in Wrestling Jeopardy history.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
As a gift to you, from me to you, this will be worth 1,000 points instead.
Yeet.
Roman Reigns' first WWE title run lasted only 5 minutes and 15 seconds after this wrestler cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase and spoiled the Big Dog's victory celebration at the 2015 Survivor Series. Oh fella, it's the Celtic Warrior. Who is Sheamus? Moving on to more main event clues for 600. At the 1994 Survivor Series, this tough celebrity was brought in to be the special guest enforcer for the main event casket match between The Undertaker and Yokozuna. No bad guys wanted any part of Chuck Norris. Well, maybe except for good old Double J, Jeff Jarrett, who wound up with some sweet chin music courtesy of Walker, Texas Ranger.
Thumbs up!
And that brings us to the 600-point clue from Soul Survivors. Who is the Soul Survivor from this team of the Warlord, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and the Mountie? Now, did you know that the Nature Boy Ric Flair achieved 2 sole surviving victories? His first coming in 1991 and the other 17 years later in 2006. And let's close out the 600-point round with this clue from CM Punk's 2023 return. Fans began to speculate about a possible Punk return to WWE when this band released a remixed version of their song Cult of Personality. And that would be Who is Living Color? That brings us to the first clue of the 800-point round. Looking like a kinder, gentler Godfather, this former ECW and WCW Tag Team Champion made his debut at the 1996 Survivor Series. Now, The Rock wasn't the only person to make his debut at the 1996 Survivor Series.
And I got a chia pet on my head as a haircut.
Because Too Cold Scorpio was so funky as Flash Funk.
What is this?
And that brings us to the second clue of the 800-point round. The Rock surprised everyone when he sold out to become the corporate champion at the 1998 Survivor Series, which was subtitled this. Now, The Rock turning heel to win a tournament for the WWF Championship, you might say that was a deadly game, if you will. And let's hop over to the third clue of the 800-point round from Main Events. Here it is, the daily double for this episode. Don't go and start like Googling Survivor Series main events. Let's have some integrity here, okay? Yeah! Anywho, place your wager now. All right, time is up. Here is this episode's daily double clue. In the main event of the 2002 Survivor Series, Shawn Michaels defeated these 5 superstars to win the World Heavyweight Championship in the first ever Elimination Chamber match. You know, I think I'll give you a little bit of extra time on this just because I'm feeling generous. All right, time is up. The answer of this episode's Daily Double. The 5 superstars are Triple H, Booker T, Chris Jericho, Rob Van Dam, and it's gotta be Kane. All right, let's move on to the 800-point clue from Sole Survivors. Who is the sole survivor from the women's 5-on-5 traditional elimination match from the 2020 Survivor Series that featured Peyton Royce, Bianca Belair, Nia Jax, Ruby Riott, Shayna Baszler, Liv Morgan, Lacey Evans, Natalya, Bayley, and Lana? The ravishing Russian Lana stood alone as the sole survivor for Team Raw against Team SmackDown. And here comes the final clue of the 800-point round. What wrestler's theme song was playing when CM Punk's music hit during his return at the 2023 Survivor Series? Although Randy Orton had made his return to the WWE that evening, it was Cody Rhodes' entrance theme playing. You know, I thought it might have been cool if Randy's song would have been playing since he made a return as well, but I guess he got the shaft all around that evening.
Can I not enjoy 10 minutes of my return?
And here comes the main event. 5 clues left. If you think you're a wrestling fan, this round is guaranteed to put your knowledge to the test. And let's kick things off with the final clue, the 1,000-point clue from Survivor Series debuts. As The Undertaker made his debut at the 1990 Survivor Series, Roddy Piper exclaimed over commentary, "Look at the size of that blank." I still whip out this line every now and then whenever I can, whenever it's appropriate. Piper said, "Look at the size of that ham hock."
Look at the size of that ham hock!
And that brings us to the final clue, the 1,000-point clue from Survivor Series surprises. Kofi Kingston pulled off quite the surprise win for his team at the 2009 Survivor Series when he pinned these two former world champions in a span of 8 seconds. The correct answer, CM Punk and Randy Orton.
Trouble in paradise! Kingston hooks the leg! He did it! Kofi did it!
And here comes the final clue from Survivor Series main events. How many seconds did it take Goldberg to defeat Brock Lesnar in the main event of the 2016 Survivor Series? And that would be 86 seconds, or I would also accept 1 minute and 26. 1 minute 60, yes. And I'd also accept 1 minute and 26 seconds. Here comes the 1,000-point clue from Sole Survivors. Who is the sole survivor from this match between Team USA, consisting of Goldust, Mark Mero, Vader, and Steve Blackman, versus Team Canada, consisting of the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith, Philip LaFawn, Doug Furness, and Jim the Anvil Neidhart? Now props to JR on commentary for calling out Team Canada being made up of mostly non-Canadians. But the sole survivor was the British Bulldog, who walked straight to the back after the match, probably freaking out about what might happen with his brother-in-law later in that evening.
I'm fucked.
And let's close out the board with this final clue worth 1,000 points. Who was the first person to greet Punk when he came back through the curtain? And these two would go on to break the internet, so to speak. The correct answer, who is Triple H?
I love you, man. I love you too, bud. I love you, dude. I love you, bro Montana.
All right, don't go anywhere. It's Final Jeopardy time on this special Survivor Series themed episode. Let's find out what the final category is. The Montreal Screwjob. Only a handful of iconic moments in the history of professional wrestling are still talked about as frequently as what happened during the final minutes of the 1997 Survivor Series. So think about the Montreal Screwjob and place your wager now. All right, time's up. Here is the Final Jeopardy clue. This member of Vince McMahon's inner circle was the agent in charge of the main event match between Brett and Shawn. Is it A, Bruce Pritchard, B, Gerald Briscoe, or C, Pat Patterson? Good luck. A faithful McMahon ally, Pat Patterson was also a close personal friend of the Hitman, and Brett actually inducted Pat into the WWE Hall of Fame in 1996. And that does it for another episode of Wrestling Jeopardy. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Kevin J. Callis.
Yeah!
And I'll see you next time.